Chapter 377. Your Highness is jealous. However, Yingxue paid no heed to this. She persisted in demanding punishment for Chu Chengye. Chu Chengye's face turned ashen, gritting his teeth bitterly. Yingxue, you dare strike at me? She doesn't dare, but I do. With a single glance from Chu Yihan, Mochi swiftly arrived with 2 shadow guards. They swiftly subdued Chu Chengye before he could even resist, pinning him to the ground. Mochi took a glance at Manager Chi's injuries, then turned to Chu Yihan, bowing. Your Highness, this manager was subjected to 3 forms of punishment. Apply them back to Chu Chengye. Chu Yihan ordered nonchalantly. Chu Chengye was held down, his eyes almost bulging. Imperial uncle, how dare you? Chu Yihan didn't engage in meaningless banter. Instead, he instructed Mochi to fetch the torture implements from the prison and proceed to punish Chu Chengye on the spot. In no time, Chu Chengye's skin was torn apart. Except for Yingxue, this scene left everyone else stupefied. Liang Jin furrowed his brows deeply. While he found Chu Yihan's methods somewhat harsh, he deemed the punishment fair, so he refrained from saying much. The Minister of Justice and the Assistant Minister of Justice were petrified. The Assistant Minister's face paled, and the Minister fainted upon seeing Chu Chengye bleeding profusely. Oh my God! Chu Chengye was headstrong. He was about to cry for help. After half an hour, Mochi reported to Chu Yihan. Your Highness, the punishment is completed. Chu Yihan nodded faintly, then looked up at Yingxue. His eyes shimmered like a galaxy of stars. Satisfied? Yingxue glanced at the unconscious Chu Chengye and nodded. Yes, I'm content. But Manager Chi and the others have been locked up for so many days. Manager Chi was startled and hurriedly reassured. Miss, we're fine. We're fine. Chu Yihan's tone turned icy. Mochi, lock Chu Chengye up in the Ministry of Justice's dungeon. Mochi acknowledged and immediately took him away. The Minister of Justice awoke in fright, then promptly fainted again. After Liang Jin organized the case, he retrieved it for archiving. Chu Yihan escorted Yingxue out. Yingxue linked arms with him and rubbed against him, her face as soft as a cat's. Your Highness, you struck Chu Chengye at the Ministry of Justice today. Will there be any repercussions? Are you asking him or me? Chu Yihan's gaze turned chilly. Yingxue tilted her head, finding something off about this man. Of course, I'm asking Your Highness. Why would I ask him? Yingxue blinked her fox-like eyes and secretly appraised Chu Yihan. Chu Yihan's eyes grew colder, his demeanor more severe. I expected you to sympathize with him when I beat him. Yingxue was curious. Your Highness did it on my behalf. Chapter 378. Chu Yihan has an older brother. However, Chu Yihan's lips curled up slightly upon hearing that. He felt better. Chu Yihan intended to escort her back to the Marquis' manor. In the carriage, Yingxue still clung to Chu Yihan's arm, visibly worried. Lord Liang told me, Your Highness, you're not allowed to meddle in Ministry of Justice matters. You struck the 7th prince this time. If the Emperor uses the late Emperor's decree to hold you accountable. Yingxue's beautiful eyes were filled with worry. She didn't look for Chu Yihan because she didn't want the Emperor to have something on him. Given their strained relationship and confrontations, she was deeply concerned. Chu Yihan pinched her soft cheek. Father's decree forbids me from presiding over cases or intervening with the Ministry of Justice. However, one didn't handle the case or interact with Ministry of Justice personnel. One struck Chu Chengye. He can't use that decree. Yingxue pursed her lips and thought for a moment. That was indeed the case. Chu Chengye planned to prevent Chu Yihan from overseeing or participating in the case. Yet, Chu Yihan had merely provided a witness. Technically, he had only observed the case. Furthermore, Chu Chengye wasn't a Ministry of Justice official. Chu Yihan had struck him, citing it as a teaching from the Imperial uncle to a junior, which was completely justified. Yingxue couldn't help but find it amusing. Chu Chengye's plan to prevent Chu Yihan from intervening backfired. He was instead beaten by Chu Yihan. At that moment, he lay unconscious in the Ministry of Justice's prison, possibly shedding tears of regret. But, Your Highness, why did you mistakenly kill Ministry of Justice officials? Su Yingxue blurted out. Chu Yihan's aura immediately softened, inexplicably pressuring Su Yingxue. Pursing her lips, Su Yingxue continued, Your Highness, you don't have to say it if you don't want to. Seeing Chu Yihan's eyes redden, she felt she had touched upon a forbidden subject. The bloodshot veins in Chu Yihan's eyes seemed to encroach upon his eyeballs like vines, slowly corroding them. Because that year, the Ministry of Justice mishandled a case, resulting in an innocent's death. Innocent. Su Yingxue sensed this innocent might be closely related to Chu Yihan. Unexpectedly, Chu Yihan opened up about this matter. I was 6 years old then. I went out of the palace to play with my brother, accompanied by 2 trusted guards. It was joyous until he disappeared. Despite searching, one couldn't find him. Upon returning, Father ordered the Ministry of Justice to find my brother. Instead, those 2 guards were sentenced for losing a prince due to inadequate guarding and publicly beheaded. As Chu Yihan recounted, Su Yingxue felt his heart's helplessness and grief. She hadn't anticipated Chu Yihan had a missing twin brother from his childhood. His elder brother remained unfound, and those who cared for him were unjustly killed. Su Yingxue's heart ached, contorting her expression. I didn't kill him. I attacked, but he died later. Chu Yihan's lips curved mockingly. Su Yingxue grasped the situation. You were framed like this when you were only 6. Chu Yihan dismissed it. Framing isn't restricted by age. Even when my brother disappeared, he was only 6. A hint of apology lingered in his cold tone. Chapter 379, Su Dingheng was poisoned. Su Yingxue leaned into his embrace, unsure of what words could console him. Instead, she raised her head and kissed him. Losing loved ones at a tender age, not knowing life from death, was perhaps a lingering pain in his heart. Chu Yihan held the back of her head, deepening the kiss. Concerned about his emotions, Su Yingxue didn't resist. After the kiss, Su Yingxue originally intended to inquire about Saint Juan's condition. If he was dead, it would suffice. But if not, she wanted to discuss more about poison with him. After all, it was their shared expertise. However, the commotion at Marquis Manor's entrance made her frown. Chu Yihan held her hand. Shall one accompany you back? Su Yingxue shook her head. One can handle the matters at home. It's not necessary. Chu Yihan affectionately ruffled her hair and let her go. Upon entering the Marquis Manor, the servants seemed flustered. She grabbed someone randomly to ask. That person looked panicked. Marquis, what happened to my father? Su Yingxue frowned. Unable to explain clearly, Su Yingxue sought out the steward and Yilan. However, Yilan was nowhere to be found. Instead, she encountered the steward in Su Dingheng's courtyard, about to say something. But before the steward could speak, Su Yingxue heard a scolding voice. You've got the nerve to come back. You're killing Marquis. Liu Shulan covered her face with a handkerchief, her eyes red from crying. Su Yingxue sensed something amiss. Upon entering Su Dingheng's room, she found a doctor holding medicine. Su Dingheng lay on the bed, breathing weakly. Approaching Su Dingheng's bedside, just as she grabbed his hand to check his pulse, Su Dingheng's eyes widened. Save me. Shuli, Long Shuli, save me. Su Yingxue's thoughts were disturbed by his words. Why call me mother? What do you remember about her? Suddenly curious about her mother, Su Yingxue realized Su Dingheng seemed delirious. After uttering her mother's name, he began to vomit, half-conscious. Liu Shulan sobbed for a while before pushing her away from Su Dingheng's bedside. The doctor has already come to diagnose. The Marquis is poisoned, and what poisoned him is the furniture you bought for him. Su Yingxue, you are already in charge of the Marquis Manor, but I didn't expect you to be so cruel that you would even kill your father. Is your ambition that big? Liu Shulan's cries terrified the steward and the servants. Su Yingxue had plotted against her biological father. Get out of my way. I haven't even taken his pulse. Where did you find a doctor to conclude this? Su Yingxue's expression turned sharp. She glanced at the so-called doctor, dressed in plain clothes with a long beard, but was unable to meet her gaze. She couldn't discern his supposed exceptional medical skills. Dr. Huang is the most reputable in True Medicine Center. Would he deceive the Marquis Manor? Liu Shulan's eyes flashed with determination. I won't let you near Marquis to harm him again. I'll say it again, move aside. Su Yingxue didn't have the patience to argue. Su Dingheng's condition appeared severe. She needed to heal him and discover why he called her mother's name. As Liu Shulan persisted, Su Yingxue pushed her away. She fell to the ground, crying out. Soldiers burst in from outside the door. Chapter 380. The man in black in the dark night. Liang Jin was the one who brought the people here, and his expression didn't look too good. Facing Su Yingxue, he waved his hand. Men, take her down. Su Yingxue's eyes showed confusion. Lord Liang, why? Miss Su, someone has accused you of murdering Marquis. Thief presented witness and material evidence, so I have no choice but to arrest you first. Liang Jin's men apprehended Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue didn't resist due to Liang Jin's status, but she pointed at Su Dingheng on the bed. 1 a.m. My father's daughter. I should be able to take his pulse, right? No. Liu Shulan got up and fiercely protected Su Dingheng. You were the one who poisoned your father. How dare you touch him again? I didn't. Su Yingxue's gaze turned sharp, suspicion rising suddenly in her eyes. Liu Shulan met her gaze fearlessly. At that moment, Su Yurou ran in crying. She pleaded with Liang Jin, Lord Liang, you must help me. Daddy has been arguing with sister recently. Sister has a cold and hard personality and has never shown humility to Daddy. Daddy loves her and can't bring himself to scold her. But I didn't expect sister to buy a batch of such furniture for Daddy, causing him to. She covered her face, sobbing as she depicted Su Yingxue as a heinously unfilial daughter. However, Su Yingxue remained cold-faced. Frowning, Liang Jin asked Su Yingxue, Miss Su, do you have anything else to say? If you want to accuse someone, there's always a way to find a charge. Su Yingxue's expression remained composed. Compared to Liu Shulan and her daughter, Su Yingxue, the legitimate daughter, seemed unperturbed about Su Dingheng. She displayed little concern or emotional attachment. However, Liang Jin wouldn't readily pass judgment. In the coming days, officials will investigate. Miss Su, you need not accompany me to the Ministry of Justice's prison, but you'll be confined within the residence of Marquis Manor and forbidden to leave. Otherwise, one will arrest you. He was cautioning Su Yingxue against hasty actions pending investigation. Su Yingxue agreed but still requested to examine Su Dingheng's condition by taking his pulse. Liang Jin declined. Dr. Huang is indeed the finest in the True Medicine Center. Though his skills may not surpass yours, he's among the best in Jiangdu City. He won't let anything happen to the Marquis. But if you touch the Marquis again and something goes wrong, you wouldn't be able to explain it. Su Yingxue's expression darkened slightly as she nodded. Thank you for the advice, Lord Liang. Returning to her courtyard, she learned that all her servants were temporarily locked up in the woodshed, and Su Dingheng wouldn't be released until he was out of danger. She considered it a favorable situation if they remained secluded and unaffected. Planning to sort out matters first, she contemplated seeing Su Dingheng's condition. Ziwei. Su Yingxue called softly. A tall, black figure silently appeared beside her. Escape? Ziwei asked. Su Yingxue shook her head. After nightfall, divert the guards in my father's courtyard. I'll check his pulse. Understood. At nightfall, Ziwei scouted Su Dingheng's courtyard. Liu Shulan had set up defenses, and the Marquis Manor's soldiers were guarding vigilantly. Su Yingxue escaped her courtyard and, with Ziwei's help, crossed the wall to reach Su Dingheng's courtyard. Ziwei stood guard outside. Before Su Yingxue reached Su Dingheng's bed, she spotted the figure in the black cloak. Chapter 381. Mysterious man. His face was concealed under the hood, making it impossible to discern his features. Suddenly, he erupted into laughter, causing a slight shiver in Su Yingxue's frame. The laughter was faint and elusive, almost like a figment of Su Yingxue's imagination. Suddenly, she heard the man's voice, which was filled with vicissitudes of life and vigor. "Child, you've come." A child? Su Yingxue was on high alert. "Who are you? Why are you with my father? Did you cause his condition?" "Exactly," the man admitted nonchalantly, without a hint of hesitation. Even in his voice, Su Yingxue could detect a trace of fearlessness and audacity. "You can't save your father." The man's aged and hoarse voice made each word reverberate with an unsettling resonance. Swiftly, Su Yingxue's long whip swung towards him. He dodged with agility, refraining from retaliation. Oddly, his instantaneous move brought Su Yingxue to Su Dingheng's bedside. She placed her hand on Su Dingheng's wrist. One pulse, two pulses. After the 15th pulse, Su Yingxue's brows gradually knitted together. She could not tell what poison Su Dingheng had been poisoned with. With a piercing gaze, Su Yingxue confronted the man. "Who are you? Why did you poison my father?" "He, child." The man's tone shifted unexpectedly to a kindliness that puzzled Su Yingxue. Just moments ago, he declared that she couldn't save her father. Now, he spoke gently, "Let me see your capabilities." "Capabilities? What do you want?" Su Yingxue watched him swiftly depart, his figure long vanished. Upon Ziwei's return, the man had already disappeared. After instructing Ziwei to search again, he reported no traces of experts around the Marquis Manor. "Who is he?" Su Yingxue slammed her fist on the table, causing quite a stir. Liu Shulan entered to inspect the commotion. Seeing the room empty and Su Dingheng still unconscious, she heaved a sigh of relief. Seated at Su Dingheng's bedside, she held his hand and murmured, "Marquis, one had no choice. Once Su Yingxue dies, you will surely recover." She had an arrangement with that person. Su Yingxue conspired against her father. Even if she didn't die, she would be severely punished. Once she seized control of the Marquis Manor, he would cure Su Dingheng. Listening to Liu Shulan's words from the rafters, Su Yingxue pondered for a moment. She must be connected to that man. Who? The purple hues in Ziwei's eyes emanated a chilling bloodlust. Su Yingxue shook her head. "He came for me. I'm the only one who's seen him. Even in the Ministry of Justice, neither Your Highness nor anyone else detected his aura. It's truly strange. I'll be protecting you." Ziwei discerned Su Yingxue's inner disquiet and spoke in a hoarse voice. Su Yingxue smiled, her eyes slightly curved. "All right." She carefully examined Su Dingheng's body. Other than the fact that she could not determine what poison he had been poisoned with, she found that there were two bulges on his body. One was his abdomen, and the other was his arm. It seemed like there were tumors growing on his body, but she could not determine how or why they had grown. Su Yingxue bit her lip. After all, she had not been exposed to poison for long. If she could call Saint Juan over at this moment and treat him together, she might be able to find the source as soon as possible. But Saint Juan? She wondered if he was still alive. Su Yingxue summoned Chu Yihan's shadow guards to inquire. The guard confirmed that Saint Juan was alive and in his medicinal hut. After obtaining the address, Su Yingxue set out with Ziwei. Unexpectedly, the Saint Juan she encountered this time was a genuine old man. Chapter 382. The Origin of Scumbags. He took off his red robe and wore a coarse white robe. He looked old, with white hair and beard, wrinkles covering his face, and numerous spots. There was no trace of elegance. He didn't seem surprised to see Su Yingxue. "What are you looking at? Haven't you seen an old man before?" Su Yingxue took a deep breath. "I have, but I've never seen an old man who can torment people like you. Did you poison yourself to look that way? Otherwise, how could someone in their 70s act like they were in their 20s? Saint Juan snorted coldly. "So what? Can't I? Okay, I'm just afraid you'll be too heavy-handed. The poison to preserve one's looks might not be easy to endure." Su Yingxue rubbed her nose, admiring Saint Juan. He was ruthless to others and equally so to himself. "I've been playing with poison for so many years, and I've never feared anyone." However, as soon as he said this, whenever Su Yingxue approached him, he noticeably stepped back. Su Yingxue found it amusing. Haven't you claimed to never fear anyone before? Saint Juan looked uncomfortable. You, except for you and your mother. My mother and me. Saint Juan, are you close to my mother? Su Yingxue's watery eyes blinked at Saint Juan. Logically, Saint Juan was old enough to be her grandfather. However, from the things her mother left behind, she could tell her mother knew Saint Juan better than anyone else. She even left behind the entire formula of intoxicating fragrance for her to use against Saint Juan. Saint Juan was fiddling with his bottles and jars. When he heard this, he suddenly stopped, a hint of disappointment in his eyes. That stubborn girl, Shuli. I was still thinking about her. Back then, when he changed his appearance, many women threw themselves into his arms. He played with them and, in a bad mood, left a bit of poison to torment them. At that time, he was famous worldwide, and untouchable. Only Long Shuli found him, competing in poison. She even scolded him as a scumbag. At that time, he didn't understand what a scumbag was. Long Shuli stopped and explained to him, "Scumbag is a rotten man who plays with women's feelings and isn't accountable to them." He snorted disdainfully. Then there are also scumbag women in this world. For instance, his fiancée. But that's not a reason for you to toy with other women. If you disappoint them, it's one thing, but poisoning them is despicable. To rectify your wicked deeds, I'll take these matters and punish you. I'll punish you. Saint Juan immersed himself in memories. This was what Long Shuli had arrogantly said when they first met. Afterward, they had a competition. Regardless of the poison he used, Long Shuli always managed to cure it. Her detoxification methods and medications were innovative, and he had never seen them before. They didn't determine a winner, but they were very interested in each other's abilities and became a pair of injurious friends. Why injurious friends? Because Long Shuli always wanted to take advantage of his carelessness to kill him and avenge those girls. However, he admired Long Shuli's medical skills. To stop her vendetta, he had to detoxify each girl one by one and apologize to them. In those 2 years, he apologized and was berated and beaten by those girls. But Long Shuli always stood by, arms crossed, scolding him. You deserve it. He thought to himself, after all, she's the one I admire. So be it. After that, he stopped playing with girls. Because his relationship with Long Shuli was much more interesting than that. One day, he developed an intoxicating fragrance because he knew that woman was going to die. Chapter 383. She doesn't have such strong taste. Long Shuli advised him to go back and take a look at that woman, so he wouldn't live with regrets. He resented her inwardly, thinking, even if one returned to see her, 111 only go to poison her to death. However, he was unable to develop the intoxicating fragrance because the woman died faster than he had imagined. The last time he laid eyes on her, she was emaciated and extremely unattractive. There was no lack of his revenge on her. However, when she saw his young and handsome face, her first words remained, "I have no regrets." They were childhood friends. He had doted on her for over a decade, but upon his return from a few years away, she had married someone else. How could he forgive her for abandoning their relationship so easily? Such a breach of trust. Yet, her death left him feeling hollow. On the day he parted ways with Long Shuli, Shuli asked, "Is the intoxicating fragrance still being developed?" He shook his head. There was no need. Little did he know that stubborn Shuli had completed it. During the detoxification process, he discovered a medication among Long Shuli's remedies called Unforgettable. Remember the good times. Now, he finally understood Long Shuli's intentions. Are you and my mother best friends? Su Yingxue found her mother's interactions with people beyond the comprehension of ordinary folk. I admire her. For once, Saint Juan's face carried a hint of seriousness. If that's the case, her daughter has come seeking your help. Will you assist? Su Yingxue's sly eyes gleamed with cunning. Saint Juan stowed away his vials and jars, proudly snorting, "Haven't you already bested me with poison? What need do you have for my help now?" That was because of my mother, Su Yingxue confessed openly. Then, what favor do you seek? Saint Juan bent, shifting to a rattan chair, leisurely crossing his legs and reclining. My father was poisoned. Su Yingxue's countenance turned solemn. Saint Wan raised an intrigued eyebrow. Su Yingxue described Su Dingheng's symptoms to Saint Wan, asking, "Is there a poison undetectable by pulse taking? It seems the tumor in his body is expanding. What medicine can eliminate it?" Saint Wan didn't immediately reply. He seemed deeply engrossed in thought. Even after she called him several times, he didn't respond. Eventually, he narrowed his eyes, the wrinkles on his eyelids hiding his gaze. "You say the pulse can't be detected, and there's something undetermined inside his body?" "Yes." This was the headache-inducing aspect for Su Yingxue. Saint Wan's eyes lit up, suddenly turning to her. "Did your mother leave behind any modern medical records?" "Modern medicine?" Surprise flashed across Su Yingxue's eyes. "How did you know?" "Ha! Crafty girl." Saint Wan's aged frame whisked into his room like a gust of wind. With a thud, he shut the door. 2 hours later, the young man in a red robe emerged, holding a fan. His captivating eyes were entrancing, that belt embroidered with shameful patterns still on his waist. Su Yingxue was taken aback. "Did you poison yourself again?" Saint Wan's mouth twitched. "Control yourself. Don't be charmed by me." Su Yingxue was left speechless. Her tastes weren't that extreme. On the way to the Marquis Manor, Su Yingxue told Saint Wan that there were indeed a few modern medical books in the medical books her mother left behind. However, these medical books were far from their medical skills, especially when it came to performing surgery. "Wanna gift the story? Try one." Saint Wan closed his eyes and attempted the combination. Unexpectedly, the box clicked open. "Saint Wan, you truly are my mother's good friend." Excited, Su Yingxue patted his shoulder. Saint Wan smiled awkwardly. He wasn't sure if being such a sarcastic friend was a good thing. "But this 438. He mumbled, 438, 438. "Why does it sound so strange?" Su Yingxue opened the box casually, responding, 438. "Damn bitch." She laughed after saying that. "So it's damn bitch." Su Yingxue. Saint Wan's jade-like face instantly reddened with anger. Chapter 385, Secret Long Shuli, "You called me a bastard." He rolled up his sleeves, ready to confront her, but the realization that Long Shuli had passed away many years ago made him snort in frustration. "I'll settle the score with her later." A hint of melancholy flickered in Su Yingxue's eyes. "If you want to settle the score with my mother, you'll probably have to do it in your next life. Medical practitioners who don't believe in ghosts and gods, where does the next life come from? It's just a matter of reaching the underworld to see if there's a chance to meet her again," Saint Wan responded nonchalantly. He, like Su Yingxue, was surprised. "My mother left behind a set of surgical tools." Su Yingxue discovered that the box contained an entire set of surgical tools, arranged in 3 layers. There were knives of various sizes, along with scissors she had never seen before, all exquisitely crafted. "Quick, take it to your father for surgery," Saint Wan urged. However, Su Yingxue hesitated. "I can cut open a rabbit's body, suture it, and even study its internal organs, but I've never dissected a human body, especially not my father's. What's the worst that could happen to your father? At most, he'll die. Moreover, if you don't cut him open, does that mean he doesn't have to die?" Saint Wan, waving his fan elegantly, seemed indifferent because it was not his father. Yet, as Su Yingxue held the surgical tools, her hesitation was palpable. She dared not. She would never undertake something without certainty. Saint Wan stayed with her for half the night. At dawn, he yawned and said that he was going back to sleep. Su Yingxue locked herself in the Medicine King Valley and thought alone. The little ginseng floated over, and its ginseng whiskers lightly brushed against Su Yingxue's face. "Why are you lacking in confidence? It's just about cutting open a person's body and taking out what's inside. Look at you, you've dissected plenty of rabbits. If your father dies, we can always find another one." Observing that Su Yingxue's father didn't hold much affection for her, and she didn't seem to love her father either. No, this is different. Su Yingxue was still holding a rabbit in her hand. Its red eyes carried a trace of timidity, making her feel complicated. She used the rabbit to practice because she was not afraid of failure and was getting better and better each time. However, if she was operating on a person, a living life, no matter who he was, whether he was her father or not, she had to be responsible for him. She was a doctor and had to be accountable for every patient. If she couldn't save him, she would prefer not to try. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in your mother. She's such a powerful person. Are you going to disgrace her? The little ginseng deliberately provoked her, even offering, if you can't save him, you can use me as compensation. Use you? Su Yingxue looked up, and the heaviness in her eyes turned into confusion. The little ginseng floated in the air. My original form can save a person, but one won't be here. If you want me to save your father, I won't refuse. Who asked me to be yours? From the first day it entered Su Yingxue's body, its life had merged with hers. Su Yingxue could use any means to make it save anyone. However, this was a secret. It wouldn't disclose it to anyone with malicious intentions. But Su Yingxue wasn't like that. Hence, it openly shared the information as a testament to her confidence. Liang Jin had never seen her so unconfident when it came to medical skills. Compared to the genius doctor who was in high spirits in the past. Today, Su Yingxue seemed to have changed into a different person. Liang Jin didn't ask further. Su Yingxue only had a few peaceful days in prison. Yihan came to the cell and saw her sitting cross-legged on the stone bed. His expression was cold. He walked up to her and asked in a low voice, "How many days do you plan to stay here?" Su Yingxue slowly opened her eyes, pondering. "No time like the present. Let's leave today. I will escort you." Yihan extended his hand to her. The moment Su Yingxue placed her hand in his palm, a sense of reassurance enveloped her. Exiting the cell, Yihan seemed attuned to her, guiding her back to the Marquis Manor. Before Su Yingxue got out of the rickshaw, Yihan inquired, "Aren't you afraid you won't be able to cure your father?" Su Yingxue's smile carried a trace of bitterness. "Even if I claim not to be afraid, I can't deceive your highness." Yihan enclosed her small hand in his palm. The warmth emanating from his grasp made Su Yingxue's eyes inadvertently soften. Chapter 387, Su Yingxue wants to cure Su Dingheng. Su Yingxue had been in prison. Now, suddenly back at the Marquis Manor, Liu Shulan was shocked upon seeing her. Seeing Yihan beside her, Liu Shulan became immediately alert. "Your Highness, forgive me for not welcoming your visit." Yihan paid her no attention. He escorted Su Yingxue to Su Dingheng's courtyard. Liu Shulan, sensing trouble, blocked them at the door. "Your Highness, what is your intention? Though you possess a noble status, even if you were to enter Marquis Manor uninvited, I wouldn't dare to stop you. But the person you bring along is the murderer of Marquis. One cannot allow her near Marquis." Yihan's gaze turned cold and intimidating. "Step aside." Despite her frantic heartbeat, Liu Shulan persisted at the courtyard entrance. "Your Highness, please excuse me. I cannot permit Su Yingxue to enter Marquis' courtyard." Su Yingxue stood silently behind Yihan, observing Liu Shulan's actions. Yihan was patient only with Su Yingxue. He gestured, and Mochi threw Liu Shulan aside, clearing the way for Yihan and Su Yingxue. Liu Shulan wanted to step forward to stop him, but Yihan's shadow guard immediately brandished his blade. The snow-white blade flashed with a sharp cold light. Liu Shulan couldn't get close. She gritted her teeth in anger, but she didn't dare to. She summoned a servant from her courtyard, instructing him, "Quickly go to the capital prefecture and inform Lord Liang that Su Yingxue has been brought back to the Marquis Manor by the 9th Prince and is aiming to harm the Marquis." The messenger left. Liu Shulan paced outside, contemplating the advantages and disadvantages of Su Yingxue's return. Amid her thoughts, Su Yurou arrived, impulsively rushing in. "Su Yingxue, this bitch dares to come back. I won't let her treat father. Liu Shulan restrained her. Foolish child, the ninth prince and his men are guarding. Do you wish to risk entering? Still feeling the pain from her fall, Liu Shulan couldn't allow Su Yurou to put herself in jeopardy again. Su Yurou clenched her handkerchief in frustration. Mother, are we going to fear Su Yingxue and the ninth prince? If Su Yingxue saves father, hell be grateful to her. Hasn't your plan failed again? Liu Shulan's eyes flickered with coldness. She must have the ability to save him. Long Shuli was dead. Was there anyone else with medical skills surpassing that man's? The ninth prince is there. Even if she were to cure father to death, I'm afraid the ninth prince wouldn't make her bear the guilt. This bitch, one don't know how she managed to catch the eye of the ninth prince. This was what infuriated Su Yurou the most. Despite all her efforts to attract the seventh prince's attention, she dared not even dream of the supreme ninth prince. But Su Yingxue managed to captivate him, and she even lured back the seventh prince. Now, she had nothing but was doted upon by the ninth prince. That's not certain. In the Great Cheng dynasty, it's the ninth prince who holds the final say. If she kills your father, Liu Shulan's eyes glinted with scheming. She pulled Su Yurou closer and whispered, "Go to the palace and inform the empress." Chu Yihan escorted Su Yingxue to Su Dingheng's side. Su Dingheng's health was deteriorating, and he seemed delirious. At the sight of Su Yingxue, he cried out, "Shuli, save me! Shuli, save me! It was my fault. One shouldn't have taken another wife. Don't abandon me, save me." Chapter 388, Chu Yihan raises prisoners. Su Yingxue found him noisy, so she fed him some calming medicine, allowing him to fall asleep first. Upon hearing of her return, Saint Juan promptly made his way over. "Hey, aren't you planning to perform surgery on your father? Look at his confused state, he won't last much longer. If this continues, won't your highness be in trouble?" Saint Juan raised his eyebrows. He glanced at Chu Yihan, who sat composed not too far away. Why else would they say Chu Yihan was impressive? It was one thing to be impolite in front of the emperor, but in the capital prefecture, he had effortlessly abducted prisoners and guarded them firmly. Even if his brother Chu Mingyuan wanted to act similarly, he would have to consider the opinions of the court officials, right? Su Yingxue sat beside Chu Yihan, her brows never relaxing. Chu Yihan gently caressed her cold hand, his voice protective. "If you're uncertain, I'll ask Saint Juan to treat your father." "Me? I don't know how to perform surgery. One can't do it," Saint Juan exclaimed. Chu Yihan's gaze was cold. "If you can't cure him, it will be your life on the line." Saint Juan was speechless. He had never encountered such a shameless person in his 70 years of life. What the heck? Your woman's life matters, but my life doesn't, huh? Annoying, Saint Juan thought to himself. But he was utterly helpless. He had ventured into this place, surrounded by Chu Yihan's men. He couldn't escape. Saint Juan was helpless. "If you can't do it, bring out your surgical tools." He rubbed his hands. "But let me clarify first, 20 years ago, one only dissected a rabbit with your mother. I've never dissected a person. If someone dies, you're not allowed to treat me as a patricide. Whether he lived or died, he didn't want this little girl to hold a grudge against him." Su Yingxue's expression darkened, yet she remained silent. It wasn't that she didn't dare, she was waiting. She was waiting for someone. Or rather, she was waiting for his scent. The mysterious man wore a black hat, yet was familiar with her mother and always referred to her as a child. "Your Highness, Liang Jin is here." Outside the door, Mochi reported. Chu Yihan replied calmly, "Tell him that I am bringing people to treat Marquis Su. If he wants to wait, he is not allowed to disturb me." Mochi conveyed the message, causing Liang Jin to feel a headache coming on. "It's fine if your highness wants to treat Marquis, but why must you kidnap the prisoners from the prison?" He couldn't care less about Chu Yihan's actions, but the person he kidnapped was his prisoner. Mochi knew Liang Jin was helpless, but he straightforwardly told him, "No one can interfere with the way your highness does things. If Lord Liang wants to take her away, you can give it a try." Mochi gestured for Liang Jin to look behind him. Liang Jin turned around. Outside the courtyard, besides Chu Yihan's elite soldiers, there were also his shadow guards. Legend had it that Chu Yihan's shadow guards were iron-willed men, capable of claiming enemy generals' heads on the battlefield and intimidating court officials. To Chu Yihan's enemies, they were nightmarish. Even the emperor feared their deployment by Chu Yihan. Liang Jin was furious, yet he could only wait in the courtyard. After a while, Yingxue came out of her room and started moving around the Marquis manor alone. Ziwei guarded her side worriedly. Yingxue gestured for him to leave. Ziwei vanished immediately. Only when she was alone did Yingxue finally feel a sense of relief. However, she didn't encounter the black-cloaked man she was waiting for. Instead, she saw Lan Ling, who had brought the Imperial guards and the palace guards. When Lan Ling saw her, a trace of emotion quickly flashed across his eyes. He immediately attacked her. Chapter 389, Su Dingheng's life. Ziwei protected Yingxue and retreated into Su Dingheng's courtyard. Chu Yihan quickly approached Yingxue, grasping her hand. "Are you okay?" Yingxue shook her head, indicating that she was fine. "Your Highness, the Emperor has sent Lan Ling." A hint of concern shadowed Yingxue's expression, fearing that the Emperor might use this opportunity to complicate things for Chu Yihan. Chu Yihan pulled her close, his touch radiating immense pressure that seemed to paralyze everyone in the courtyard. Lan Ling's expression remained cold. By order of the Emperor, the 9th Prince trespassed into the prison and took away prisoners. You are to be immediately brought to the Imperial Palace for detention. Yingxue, accused of poisoning her father, has violated family ethics and shall be executed on the spot. Upon hearing Lan Ling's words, Liu Shulan revealed a hint of joy. Yingxue's good days were finally over. The Emperor's decree was here. Would the 9th Prince go against the Emperor for the sake of one woman and turn from a respected prince to a traitor and criminal? However, Chu Yihan's response was unexpected to them all. Yingxue did not plot against her father. One say she's innocent. Outrageous. If the Emperor decrees her guilty, she's guilty. Your Highness, are you defying the Imperial decree? I demand you come to the palace immediately and surrender. Lan Ling unsheathed his sword, and behind him, the Imperial guards and palace guards surged in, surrounding the courtyard and sealing off any escape routes. Protect your Highness. Mochi bellowed the palace guards and shadow guards from the prince's mansion facing off against Lan Ling's men. Any clash between the two sides would inevitably lead to bloodshed. Stop. In this critical moment, Yingxue broke free from Chu Yihan's grip, facing Lan Ling. Guardlan, I did not conspire against my father. I'm the only one who can save him. You're spouting nonsense. Marquis Su was harmed by you. How could you save him? Liu Shulan cried out in public, now speaking for Su Dingheng, who lay ill in bed. She cried, Marquis always cherished the eldest young miss, entrusting all household matters to her. But who knew, after taking control, she turned things this way. Bullying me would have been fine, but now she's mistreating Marquis. When they argued, the eldest young miss was heartless, while Marquis kept forgiving her, blaming himself. Liu Shulan's statements pushed Yingxue to the center of the storm. Despite her assertive demeanor and her role in the clinic, saving Consort Xiong and defeating Saint Yuan, in the eyes of the others, she appeared domineering. They wouldn't feel she was wronged, only that Liu Shulan spoke the truth. Yingxue sneered. Chapter 390, Surgical Incision. Yingxue stepped back to Chu Yihan's side and smiled. Lord Liang is indeed sensible. Chu Yihan nodded. You don't have to be afraid. He held Yingxue's hand, never releasing it. The warmth of his palm continued to flow into hers. Lan Ling's face remained cold. Lord Liang's decision is unrelated to me. 1 am only responsible for carrying out the Emperor's orders. The Emperor's command was to kill Yingxue and Chu Yihan. Tens of thousands of Imperial guards had been mobilized today. The Emperor demanded the lives of Yingxue and Chu Yihan. However, Lan Ling's gaze fell on the clasped hands of Yingxue and Chu Yihan, a trace of sadness crossing his eyes. Chief Imperial Guard, even if it's the Emperor's order, one can still seek instructions. If Su Yingxue can save Marquis Su's life, I can take his statement and investigate the case. What the Emperor desires is a clear and prosperous era, not a bloodbath. Liang Jin's tone was grave. He fully understood the conflict between the Emperor and Chu Yihan. However, as the governor of the capital prefecture, he had to close the case cleanly regardless of the circumstances. He needed the truth to be revealed, even if it meant paying with his life, but only after resolving the case. Lord Liang, please step aside. I won't. Liang Jin opened his arms, blocking in front of Su Yingxue. He was determined to clarify the case, even if Lan Ling killed him now. Liu Shulan looked at Liang Jin and was so angry that she tore the handkerchief in her hand. She originally thought that although Liang Jin and Su Yingxue knew each other, he had a reputation for being impartial and would not cover up for Su Yingxue. If he were to personally sentence Su Yingxue, it would make people feel that Su Yingxue was unpardonable and extremely evil. But now, he was so stubborn that he wanted Su Yingxue to save Su Dingheng. Liu Shulan's face darkened as she gritted her teeth. Lord Liang, are you genuinely solving the case or covering up for a criminal? Liang Jin snorted. I've handled cases for over 10 years and never covered up for anyone. He cared only about sticking to his methods of case resolution. Lord Liang, my apologies for the offense. Lan Ling was about to signal and remove Liang Jin to attack Chu Yihan and Su Yingxue. Chu Yihan was prepared. The shadow guards landed, their sharp blades emitting an intimidating aura. Su Yingxue's heart pounded. In her previous life, she died, yet Chu Yihan and the Emperor hadn't clashed. In this life, she couldn't ruin Chu Yihan's path for her sake. She ran to Lan Ling and opened her arms. Guard Lan, you can kill me, but this has nothing to do with your Highness. One implore your Highness to get me out of prison and save my father. But Guard Lan, could you ask the Emperor for permission to punish me after one save my father, considering the medicine delivered from the palace? If it were anyone else, Lan Ling would have refused and seized the chance to threaten Chu Yihan. But as he looked at her, his heart felt like it was squeezed in someone's hand. She was not only Chu Yihan's beloved but also someone he longed for. Lan Ling spoke with restraint, Miss Su, you cannot. Speaking more is pointless. Chu Yihan pulled Su Yingxue back to his side. He whispered, let Saint Wan accompany you for your father's surgery. I'll stay here, no one will dare to disturb you. Su Yingxue shook her head. If you make a move, the Emperor will see you as a traitor. Chapter 391. The Bloody Storm of the Marquis Manor. A beautiful smile flashed across Chu Yihan's dark jade-like eyes. I'm not afraid. Go ahead. He bit Su Yingxue's earlobe and pushed her in. Saint Wan also patted Su Yingxue's shoulder. Go in. It's useless for you to stay outside. You can't fight anyway. Su Yingxue rushed into the room. From the moment the door was closed, the sound of people changing sides could be heard outside the door. Chu Yihan's men were fighting with Lan Ling's men. Su Yingxue walked over to Su Dingheng's bed, her heart beating faster and faster. Saint Wan prepared all the surgical tools and bandages for her. When he brought hot water for her to clean her hands, he realized that she still didn't look ready. Saint Wan put down the basin and rolled up his sleeves. Forget it, you're useless. One might as well do it myself. I don't know if he'll die anyway. If he dies, I'll dig out his heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys and bring them back to play. Su Yingxue quickly pulled him back with a cold expression. Don't even think about it. The corner of Saint Wan's mouth curled up. Then you're willing to come? Su Yingxue looked at the pale-faced Su Dingheng on the bed. It was as if a heavy carrying pole had landed on her shoulder. My father naturally wants me to perform the surgery. She would not let others do what they should do for her, nor would she let others bear the responsibility. All. Puff. Bang. Screams and the sound of weapons could be heard from outside the door. Su Yingxue made preparations. She raised her hands, and all the dissection contents in her mother's medical book flashed through her mind. Her mind gradually calmed down. Saint Wan was her assistant. Seeing her like this, he walked outside. He opened the door and shouted at Yihan. "Hey, your woman can't hear any noise. Keep your voice down." After he finished speaking, he closed the door. Suddenly, the sounds of killing outside the door gradually faded away. The door was even surrounded by people to reduce the noise. Yingxue no longer heard the sounds of killing, and her mind became even calmer. She gave Saint Juan a grateful glance. Saint Juan waved his hand. "Stop it, hurry up. I'm still waiting to see you perform a C-section. If it's not as good as your mother's, I'll beat you." Yingxue smiled confidently. "All right." She raised her washed hands and came to Dingheng's side. Dingheng was in a daze. When he saw her raising her hands, Long Shuli's face appeared in his eyes. He murmured, "Shuli, save me. You will save me. You are the most powerful woman in the world. Even if you look down on me, you will still save me." His words left a huge ripple in Yingxue's heart. It seemed that her father had also participated in her mother's legendary life. She asked Saint Juan to mix some alcohol with some anesthetic and gave it to her father. After Dingheng fainted, the tool in her hand fell on his abdomen. The incision was slanted downward, and the flesh was slowly separated. The tendons and veins were visible to the naked eye until she cut open the ball-like tumor in Dingheng's abdomen. For a full 6 hours, Yingxue did not come out of Dingheng's room. The manor was already a sea of corpses. Liu Shulan and Yurou had already returned to their courtyard. Liu Shulan was so scared that her legs went weak. Yurou even hid her head under the bed, revealing her, but as she cried, "Don't kill me, don't kill me. Go kill Yingxue." When Liu Shulan saw Yurou like this, she couldn't help but step forward and kick her. "Look at you, how are you going to fight with Yingxue?" Chapter 392, Blue Plume Armistice. Yurou was kicked in the butt. She uneasily crawled out, huddling in the bed corner, wrapping herself in a blanket, murmuring with resentment, "Isn't mother afraid? Yet Yingxue wants to treat daddy. His belly is so bloated that something unknown grows on his body. Who knows how many days he still has left to live? Yingxue is seeking death, but it's causing chaos in our Marquis Manor." She had been pampered in the boudoir since she was young and had never seen such a bloody scene. Let alone being like Yingxue, who had cut open Dingheng's body, she was terrified even just smelling the blood outside. Act like this, and you'll end up dead at Yingxue's hands. If Yingxue survives today and even saves your father, Liu Shulan began to panic. It wasn't the chaos outside but Yingxue's unaffected state that worried her. What if Yingxue truly saved Dingheng? All her plans would collapse. As night fell, Lan Ling and Yihan continued their fierce battle. Lan Ling's palace guards and Imperial guards suffered casualties, unlike Yihan's side. Under Yihan's lead, they were like a group of warriors made of steel. Their bodies were filled with an iron aura, making Lan Ling's men wish they could throw away their helmets and armor before they even got close. Amidst the melee, Saint Juan leaped onto a beam, shouting, "Hey, the surgery's done. Marquis isn't dead yet. Want to take a break and wait for him to wake up before resuming the fight?" A faint smile curved Yihan's lips. Dingheng's survival indicated Yingxue's success. She overcame her fear. "Lan Ling, continuing this fight won't favor you. Even if we fight for 3 days and nights, you might not defeat me. I'll give you a chance to report to my Imperial brother whether this battle should go on." Yihan sheathed his sword, emanating an imperious air. Unbeknownst to Lan Ling, Mochi had already been dispatched. If the hundreds of thousands of elite soldiers under him were to be transferred over, Chu Mingyuan's reign as emperor was at stake. Lan Ling ordered people to stop and temporarily stopped fighting. Behind him, the deputy chief Imperial Guard said worriedly, "Lord Lan, 9th Prince is going to see Yingxue now. Without him as the backbone, we should take the opportunity to attack. Even if we can't kill 9th Prince, killing Yingxue is enough to make his heart ache and make him lose his mind. At that time, you will be the first to win in front of the Emperor." Lan Ling put away his sword. "This first merit is not important. What was important was whether Su Yingxue had cured her father. Was she happy now? Order the Imperial guards to withdraw from the Marquis Manor. Lan Ling's face turned cold. The Deputy Chief Imperial Guard was taken aback. Lord Lan, are you mad? The Emperor's orders. I said retreat. Go and invite Lord Liang over. Lan Ling sighed heavily. He, Lan Ling, was wrong to have fallen for Su Yingxue in this lifetime. He couldn't make the same mistake again. He had to fulfill her wish, even if it meant risking his life. Liang Jin arrived at Su Dingheng's bedside with Dr. Huang and an imperial physician. Both of them had examined Su Dingheng's body and came to a shocking conclusion. The poison in Marquis' body is gone, Saint Juan sneered. This isn't a curable poison. These two fools. Dr. Huang had always admired Saint Juan's reputation, and he sincerely bowed to him for advice. Poison doctor, please explain how you saved Marquis Su from this incurable poison. Chapter 393. The Imperial Edict. Chu Yihan brought back Saint Juan shook his head and retreated behind Su Yingxue, pointing at her. Finding her? That wasn't my credit. He had merely assisted Su Yingxue by performing minor tasks. Opening the abdomen, removing the tumor, and stitching the wound were all accomplished solely by Su Yingxue. At best, he had been a mere spectator. However, from this sideline view, he had gained a lot of knowledge. Long Shuli was still impressive. Su Yingxue had endured 6 hours of surgery and was very fatigued. I don't want to dwell on this now. I just want to clear my name. She looked at Liang Jin, her eyes carrying a plea. Lord Liang, when my father wakes up, could you reconsider the case? Liang Jin's expression turned serious. If the Emperor alters the decree, I can thoroughly investigate this case. At that moment, everyone's attention was fixed on Chu Yihan. Whether the Emperor's decree would change now depended entirely on him. Chu Yihan handed the Qingfeng sword to Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue felt its weight in her hand. He tenderly ran his fingers through Su Yingxue's soft hair. I'll make a trip to the palace. Wait for my return. Su Yingxue wanted to hold his hand. She didn't want him to go. She feared for his safety. Saint Juan pulled her aside and sneered. Don't worry. Once he's in the palace, only people there would fear him. They won't be able to kill him. Do you think the army at his command is just for show? Despite knowing Chu Yihan for many years, Saint Juan believed that if he had aspirations for the throne, Chu Mingyuan would have died long ago. However, he couldn't fathom Chu Yihan's thought process. He could be an emperor but preferred to stay as a prince. However, from time to time, he would challenge the emperor. It was truly baffling. But despite Chu Yihan being young, no one had ever truly understood him. As a 70-year-old man, he did not need to waste his energy. Su Yingxue anxiously waited in the manor for a while. Chu Yihan returned when the sun was about to rise. He threw an imperial edict to Liang Jin. Liang Jin knelt to receive it. Upon reading the contents, his eyes gleamed. He immediately summoned his men. Come, gather everyone from the Marquis Manor, and bring the proprietor of Red Brocade Lane as a witness. Liu Shulan and Su Yurou had spent a night locked in the courtyard. The next day, Liang Jin's men escorted them out. They were both terrified. Especially Su Yurou, who turned pale at the sight of the manor strewn with corpses. Liu Shulan was terrified too, especially if Su Yingxue had indeed saved Su Dingheng. But for someone guilty, whatever they feared would come to pass. For instance, she feared facing Su Dingheng once he woke. Upon entering his room, he would open his eyes and call for Long Shuli. Liu Shulan gritted her teeth upon hearing this. Su Yingxue remained composed and even comforted Su Dingheng. Don't worry, father. Mother will save you. Even after her passing, she left behind her medical knowledge, allowing her to save her father. Hence, her mother had not failed in responding to her father's pleas for days to save him. Liang Jin summoned all the witnesses and reopened the case in Su Dingheng's room. He declared loudly, this case was filed by Lady Liu, accusing Su Yingxue of poisoning her father. Her intentions were punishable. But now, Su Yingxue has saved her father's life, contradicting her initial intent. One believes there are many dubious points in this case. Chapter 394. The truth is revealed. Lord, are you biased? Just because Su Yingxue has exceptional medical skills and saved Daddy, doesn't mean she didn't poison him. Su Yurou was so angry that her eyes turned red. Finally, she said something logical. Liu Shulan, relieved by this, continued her line of thought. Rua is right. Although eldest young Miss saved the Marquis, she was the one who instructed the renovation of the Marquis' courtyard and ordered the furniture from Red Brocade Lane. How can you prove she isn't the one who plotted against the Marquis? Su Yingxue chuckled softly and said, that's easily proven. Glancing around and not seeing her courtyard's people, she turned to Chu Yihan. Your Highness, could you search the Marquis' manor and find the people from my courtyard? Once you find my maid Yilan, everything will become clear. Chu Yihan nodded and took action. Mo Chi, accompanied by the shadow guards, searched the Marquis' manor and rescued Yilan and the others from a cellar. Liu Shulan's heart skipped a beat seeing them. How could they be found so quickly? She hadn't even had the chance to move them. Aunt, you think the most dangerous place is the safest. You hid my people in the Marquis' manor to avoid attention. You didn't dare kill them all because handling the corpses would be difficult. So, you had to hide them. One right? Su Yingxue tilted her head innocently, causing the blood on Liu Shulan's lips to visibly recede. Su Yingxue was spot on. That was her exact plan. She couldn't kill the people in her courtyard directly because the corpses weren't easy to deal with. However, if they were transported out of the Marquis' manor, it would attract more attention, so she could only hide them. But she didn't expect them to be found so quickly. Lady Liu, why did you lock up everyone from Su Yingxue's courtyard in the cellar? Liang Jin frowned, noticing the flaw. Supported by Su Yurou, Liu Shulan desperately tried to cover up. That's because Su Yingxue is cunning. I feared her people would encourage her schemes and spread rumors, poisoning Marquis. After all, besides the Marquis, myself and Rua are here. For our safety, one had to take precautions. She cried softly, her tears dripping down her cheeks. She looked so pitiful that it made one's heart flutter. At this moment, Su Yurou knew to cry with Liu Shulan to gain sympathy. It was a pity that Liang Jin's tenderness was only towards his wife. Therefore, he ignored Liu Shulan's cries and called everyone in Su Yingxue's courtyard over to examine them one by one. When it came to Yilan, before Liang Jin could ask, Yilan said angrily, Lord Liang is helping my miss. All of this was framed by Lady Liu. Miss didn't go to Red Brocade Lane to customize furniture for master. Do you have proof? Liang Jin's expression was stern. Liu Shulan tried to interject angrily, you slanderous maid. Steward, take her out and punish her. How dare you? Su Yingxue glared. My father is unconscious, and I run this manor. Who are you to give orders? Want to harm my maid? Su Yingxue's smile turned icy as she looked at Yilan. Explain to Lord Liang and prove whether one customized furniture for father. Chapter 395. Liu Shulan exposed Yilan kowtowed faithfully and then faced Liang Jin with a magnanimous expression. Lord Liang, our miss didn't commission any furniture for the Marquis. Instead, she directly provided 2,000 taels of silver for the Marquis' courtyard renovation. Hiss, all the servants in the courtyard gasped when they heard this. Their eldest young miss was rich. Even Saint Juan couldn't resist teasing, so she's a rich lady. She had just given him 2,000 taels for the courtyard's renovation, so extorting 20,000 taels from this rich lady later shouldn't have been a big issue, right? Liu Shulan's complexion paled. While it's true that eldest young miss provided the money, she's always been in charge of the Marquis' manor. Every decision in this courtyard was overseen by eldest young miss. At this moment, she had to pin everything on Su Yingxue, no matter what. Pushing it to the very end. I've given the money, but the specifics of the renovation were per my father's preferences. So, aunt, if you want to know about the furniture, why not ask the proprietor? Su Yingxue looked towards Liang Jin. She stepped aside as Liang Jin had the proprietor from Red Brocade Lane brought forward. The trembling proprietor, having been questioned by Liang Jin before, was even more frightened this time. Liang Jin's interrogation was harsher than the last. Speak. Who in the Marquis Manor ordered furniture from you, and why did it contain something poisonous? I'm innocent. I've been diligently doing business for years without harmful incidents. If there were any, how could I have lasted this long? It's only with this Marquis Manor. The Red Brocade Lane's proprietor knelt, trembling with fear. Lord Liang, I've mentioned before that while the furniture was custom-made for the Marquis Manor, the people of Marquis Manor didn't allow us to deliver it. Instead, they took it away themselves. I also mentioned feeling suspicious as the furniture didn't directly reach the Marquis Manor. But where it went and what was done must be inquired from the Marquis Manor's people. As a businessman, he couldn't control goods that were already sold. To accuse him of plotting against the Marquis based on this would be a grave injustice. Liang Jin had not investigated the entire Marquis Manor before, so he left a gap. At this moment, he had already found the people in Su Yingxue's courtyard. He had all the servants in the Marquis Manor stand together and asked the proprietor of the Red Brocade Lane to identify the person who had asked him to order the furniture and who had brought the people to take the furniture away. As the Red Brocade Lane's proprietor turned, Liu Shulan nearly stumbled. What do we do, mother? Su Yurou whispered in fear. He recognized us. What do we do? Rua, remember this. In a voice only they heard, Su Yingxue said, Liu Shulan, do you want to go to the capital prefecture's prison or stay here in the Marquis Manor? Liu Shulan's unfocused gaze sharpened with confusion. Su Yingxue, what do you mean? You've studied the laws of the capital prefecture. Don't you know one allows you to withdraw the complaint? Yet, you agreed to let her withdraw charges? Su Yingxue nodded, indicating her sanity, and analyzed for Liang Jin. This case troubles you, Lord Liang. But it's an internal matter of the Marquis Manor. We can't air our dirty laundry. Due to me, the Marquis Manor has been in turmoil. If we imprison Lady Liu now, won't the Marquis Manor become a mockery in Jiangdu City? Chapter 398. She was worried about Chu Yihan. Liang Jin took a deep breath. But what if I insist on bringing her back to the capital prefecture? Su Yingxue shrugged helplessly. Then we can only, Lord Liang, according to the law, I have the right to withdraw my complaint. Besides, the eldest young miss agrees, so one can retract it. One don't need to go to the capital prefecture prison. Liu Shulan hastily crawled over, grabbing Liang Jin's clothes, and pleading with him. It wasn't as if Liang Jin wasn't frustrated. You indeed have the right to retract the complaint. However, for toying with the capital prefecture, you would have to endure 50 lashes. Ill-supervise personally. Think carefully, do you want to suffer 50 lashes or follow me back to the capital prefecture? Liu Shulan collapsed on the ground, pallid. She muttered, 50 lashes. No. 50 lashes will kill mother. Mother, don't retract the complaint. Please. Su Yurou rushed forward, embracing Liu Shulan, tearfully pleading. Even if they sentence you to prison, I can find a way to get you out. But with 50 lashes, you'll lose your life. I don't want you to die. Her words ended with a hateful glare toward Su Yingxue. It was all her fault. She was the one who deserved to die. Why did her mother have to face the consequences? Su Yingxue, that wretched woman. Liu Shulan held Su Yurou, sorrow etched on her face. She sighed, shaking her head sadly. Rua, mother has no other choice. If she went to the capital prefecture, she could avoid the 50 lashes, but imprisonment was inevitable. But now that she was in jail, what awaited her children was a disaster of life and death. Su Yingxue's ruthlessness, how could her daughter handle it? Gritting her teeth, Liu Shulan pleaded, Lord Liang, I'm willing to endure the 50 lashes. I want to retract. Liang Jin seethed with anger inside. However, being an official, he couldn't cover up the truth. He had to handle the case by the law. He instructed someone to bring the complaint Liu Shulan had submitted earlier, then gestured, bring in the punishment. He didn't consider the relationship between Su Yingxue and Liu Shulan. In a deep voice, he declared, 111 personally oversee these 50 lashes. There will be no bias. Life or death, it won't matter after these 50 lashes. Liu Shulan had long collapsed to the ground, unable to resist at all. She seemed like a soulless puppet. Even as Su Yingxue passed by and inserted a pill into her mouth, she swallowed it obliviously. Su Yingxue returned to her room. She wasn't in the mood to watch Liu Shulan get beaten up. Saint Ron leaned forward with a sullen face. What's wrong with you? You've been framed, yet you want her to stay? If it were me, I'd have poisoned her long ago. If he were in charge, Liu Shulan would have been poisoned by now. Yet, Su Yingxue was magnanimous. Not only did she spare her, but she also slipped a heart protection pill into her mouth. She was protecting Liu Shulan. You don't understand her, so don't make baseless claims. Chu Yihan shot Saint Ron a cold glance, making him cover his mouth. All right. He didn't understand Su Yingxue, so he refrained from speaking nonsense. After all, Chu Yihan's Qingfeng sword only acknowledged Su Yingxue, nobody else. His survival was crucial. Your Highness, if you enter the palace, the Emperor, Liu Shulan was already being tortured, but Su Yingxue's eyes betrayed her worry for Chu Yihan. Lan Ling had arrived with the Emperor's decree to eliminate her. Considering the Emperor and Chu Yihan's animosity, why would he instruct Liang Jin to persist with the investigation? How did Chu Yihan manage it? Chapter 399, Su Dingheng's dependents. Chu Yihan gently stroked her head, reminiscent of the affection he had showered upon her during her childhood. It's all right, don't worry. Chu Yihan's formidable presence always brought a sense of comfort. To ensure Su Yingxue could rest well, he instructed Mo Qi to clean up the corpse in the Marquis' manor before leaving. However, upon returning to the prince's mansion, his countenance turned grim. Splat. Leaning against the desk, Chu Yihan watched as the pristine white paper became tainted with his blood, his ink-black eyes gradually taking on a crimson hue. After bidding farewell to Liang Jin and handling the affairs in the mansion, Su Yingxue noticed the night had already fallen. Before she could catch her breath in her courtyard, the clamor of Su Dingheng's distressed cries reached her ears. Shuli, save me! Shuli, save me! Shuli! Su Yingxue furrowed her brows. Has he been shouting like this all along? Yihan nodded from behind. Marquis seems troubled. He calls out Madam's name in his sleep and continues to do so upon waking. No one can dissuade him. Would Miss like to go and check on him? With more pressing matters at hand, Su Yingxue initially had no intention of questioning Su Dingheng. However, his persistent cries left her no choice but to seek him out first. Entering Su Dingheng's room, she found him lying on the bed repeatedly calling out Long Shuli's name. Upon seeing her, his eyes sparkled, and he tried to leap from the bed. Shuli, save me! Shuli, save me! Su Yingxue helped him back, her expression cold. I've already saved you. You'll be fine. Shuli, don't go, I'm scared. Someone is trying to harm me, and only you can save me. Su Dingheng grabbed Su Yingxue's hand, fixated on his plea. Su Yingxue's gaze turned icy as she stared at Su Dingheng. 1 a.m. Su Yingxue. Father, look carefully. At her words, Su Dingheng shivered, guilt evident as he lowered his gaze. As long as you're here, it's fine. After all, you're as formidable as your mother. A curious smile played on Su Yingxue's lips. Well then, father, tell me how formidable my mother is. I've never heard you speak of her before. Su Dingheng recoiled like a snail, smacking his lips. Originally, he had only wanted Su Yingxue to accompany him. However, under her stern gaze, his heart trembled. Your mother, she, could cure any illness and was the most formidable woman in the world. And yet, you let her down. You even pushed her to her death. Su Yingxue's anger flared at his words. Ignoring the tragedy of her past life, the mere thought of Su Dingheng's treatment of her mother in these 2 lifetimes made her want to cast him away. I didn't. How could one force her to her death? I wasn't even worthy of her. Su Dingheng lowered his head in shame. He recalled how he was before he met Long Shuli. In the Marquis of Marshall South's manor, he was the son of a concubine and was also the least valued and most useless son. His father might not even remember who he was. He had been living in the streets, and he hadn't even read a few books before. He couldn't even fight, and he had nothing to do all day long like a hooligan. Until one day, when he was drunk outside, he met the fairy-like Long Shuli. He had tarnished her. From that moment, his life underwent a drastic transformation, only then realizing Long Shuli's true prowess. She even bore his child. His father finally acknowledged him, despite scolding him for his past actions. The entire Marquis of Marshall South's manor, and perhaps the entire Great Cheng dynasty, eagerly watched as he married Long Shuli. At that time, the emperor appointed me as crown prince, and your grandfather allowed me to inherit the title. One was all because of your mother. All these years, I've carried the burden of shame. Chapter 400. Liu Shulan was half dead. Su Dingheng covered half of his face, appearing genuinely ashamed. However, the more Su Yingxue looked at him, the angrier she became. What gives you the right to defile my mother? Faced with this accusation, Su Dingheng was taken aback, but more than that, he felt helpless. I just thought I had picked up a cheap deal. Little did he know that what he had picked up was a colossal fortune and an unprecedented rise to prominence. Yingxue, don't leave. I'm afraid that you will leave like your mother. Su Dingheng's face was filled with shame as he clutched Su Yingxue's hand as if it were a lifeline. Su Yingxue coldly shook off his hand. You won't die. However, she saw no reason to make his life too easy. Fueled by a well of anger, Su Yingxue headed to Qingxin Court. After Liu Shulan was moved back, she had already stationed guards here. As she reached the courtyard entrance, Su Yurou pounced on her. Su Yingxue, who do you think you are to treat my mother like this? Her hairpin was disheveled, and her eyes were red. After enduring the upheavals of the past day and night, she seemed to have lost all vitality. Now, unable to find Liu Shulan, she resembled a lost and distressed chick. Su Yingxue lifted her chin and sneered. Because I'm the legitimate daughter of the Marquis Manor, your elder sister. And because I can save our father, who was harmed by you. Su Yurou trembled, panic evident in her eyes. We didn't. I didn't harm Daddy. So, was it solely your mother's idea? Su Yingxue deliberately arched an eyebrow. No. My mother, she. Su Yingxue, you're the one who harmed father. It was you who harmed Daddy. You should be punished and go to hell. It should be you. Su Yurou shouted without any coherence. In Su Yingxue's eyes, she was nothing more than a grasshopper in late autumn. She would let Su Yurou hop about however Su Yurou pleased. She instructed Yihan, have someone keep an eye on her here. Let her scream all she wants. Even if she doesn't scream, make sure she causes a commotion. A hint of darkness flashed in her eyes, and her expression was so cold that it instilled fear. Yihan complied and bowed. Yes, miss. Su Yingxue entered the courtyard alone, pushing open the door to Liu Shulan's room. A frown appeared on her face as the scent of blood reached her nose. Saint Juan, holding a bottle, was casually lounging with one leg propped up on the table. His tone was flippant and carefree. I must ask, what exactly are you thinking about? Messing with her, not killing her, beating her half to death, and then having me apply medicine? I understand you let me apply the medicine to her, but you want me only to apply half of the medicine. Do you want to dote on her until she's half dead? Having experienced Su Yingxue's intoxicating fragrance, Saint Juan felt that it wasn't her usual style. Swift, precise, and ruthless. That was more like her. Su Yingxue threw him a glance. Thanks. You can leave now. Saint Juan was left speechless. He cast a sidelong look at Su Yingxue as if she were some scum. Brutal. So, she was just going to send him away. Su Yingxue, What exactly? What are you trying to achieve? What more do you want? On the bed, Liu Shulan was left with only half of her life, shouting desperately. Her voice echoed as if she were a dying fish. She knew she was powerless, yet as she watched Su Yingxue's approach, an overwhelming fear spread through her heart. Su Yingxue approached, lifting Liu Shulan's chin. She smiled softly and said, "You won't die now. Do you know that?" Liu Shulan panted weakly. "What do you want?" "I want to know some things, and I need to hear them from you." Su Yingxue's voice remained cold. Her composure resembled an iceberg, radiating an aura of coldness and intimidation. However, Liu Shulan did not have the strength to dodge at all. As expected, after a few exchanges, she had been caught by the second young master of the Marquis Manor. Even though she knew that the second young master of the Marquis Manor, Su Dingheng, was the most dissolute and useless, the wealth of the Marquis noble families still made her heart flutter. She used all her skills to pester Su Dingheng. Su Dingheng was young and flirtatious. How could he have withstood the soft and supple moves she displayed? He quickly fell in love with her. However, she had been with Su Dingheng for a year, but the senior Marquis did not allow Su Dingheng to marry her. He even warned her not to think about entering the Marquis Manor. Their Marquis Manor would never accept a woman like her who had fallen for her good. At that time, she was extremely indignant. She was also from a good family and had not fallen into the dust. Why did the Marquis Manor not want her? What right did he have to look down on her? She simply wanted to use her efforts to climb up the social ladder, escape poverty, and gradually ascend to a better life. Hearing these praises, Liu Shulan's jealousy intensified. When she was called to Long Shuli's treatment room, Long Shuli asked her to sit down for a pulse check. Liu Shulan forcefully slammed her hand in front of Long Shuli, deliberately damaging the pulse pillow. Arrogantly, she looked at her. "You're the woman marrying Dingheng? That's all. You're just an ordinary doctor." Long Shuli, with a pharaoh-like face, smiled and raised her eyebrows with a somewhat aloof demeanor. "Su Dingheng's mistress? I'm not a mistress. We truly love each other. Long Shuli, don't you feel shameless? A beggar trying to marry into the Marquis Manor. You even dared to open a clinic publicly. Do you have any semblance of a reserved woman?" Liu Shulan used her family background to insult Long Shuli without mercy. Chapter 403. She can't be jealous of Long Shuli at first. Long Shuli ignored her. She simply forcefully grabbed her wrist to check her pulse while enduring her constant stream of insults and rants. However, after Long Shuli administered a needle to her neck, she casually cleaned her ears and remarked, "You're too noisy. Nevertheless, you don't seem to be a woman with much intelligence, and I can't be bothered to argue with you." Sob, sob, sob. Yes, yes, yes. Liu Shulan wanted to retort immediately, but she found herself unable to produce any sound. She stared at Long Shuli with wide eyes. What had she done to her? Long Shuli lowered her head, writing a prescription. "I don't like noisy people, so one temporarily muted your voice." But, glancing at Liu Shulan, she continued, "Considering you're Su Dingheng's woman, let me give you some advice. That man is too incompetent. You'd be better off finding a capable and wealthy man. He won't be able to provide you with anything in the future." Bullshit. Liu Shulan cursed silently. Regardless of Su Dingheng's shortcomings, he was still the second young master of the Marquis of Marshall South's Manor. Even if he couldn't inherit the title, he would still have a place in the court. How many years could she enjoy the wealth of the Marquis Manor? Easy for Long Shuli to say. After completing the prescription, Long Shuli pulled out the silver needles. The moment Liu Shulan regained her voice, she shouted at Long Shuli, "Don't think that just because you've entered the Marquis Manor, you can look down on Dingheng and the wealth of the Marquis Manor. Little do you know, once you leave the Marquis Manor, you're nothing." Long Shuli glanced at her. "What do one need from the Marquis Manor? You, Liu Shulan glared at her. This was the first time she had encountered such a shameless woman. Everything you have now is given by the Marquis Manor. You're still not satisfied and look down on the Marquis Manor. I'm going to tell the old Marquis and have him annul your engagement. So be it if he annuls it. I didn't want to marry him either, but one think all men in the world are equally boring. It doesn't matter who one marry. Long Shuli expressed disinterest. Liu Shulan became even more jealous because what Long Shuli didn't care about was something that she had struggled for years and couldn't obtain. If you don't want to marry, then let me marry him. Go and break off the engagement with the Marquis Manor. Liu Shulan's chest heaved as she roared. She had thought that her impulsive and angry words wouldn't affect Long Shuli. To her surprise, Long Shuli tapped her pen on the table and calmly asked her, "Do you really like Su Dingheng that much? Do you have to marry him?" "Yes, I do. One love Dingheng." Liu Shulan's eyes were filled with anger. At that time, she could never have imagined that Long Shuli would break off the engagement with Su Dingheng for her. And this was her first chance to be brought into the Marquis Manor. The Marquis Manor was majestic. As soon as she stepped in, her legs went weak. She couldn't dare to imagine becoming the young madam of this place. All those dreams of soaring to new heights were now stimulated and magnified. Old Marquis happened to be in the residence as well. Both of them, under Su Dingheng's guidance, walked towards the reception hall. Su Dingheng protected her in every possible way, assuring her not to be afraid and promising to protect her. She was overjoyed. On the other hand, Long Shuli maintained a calm expression. She didn't seem to be walking in the Marquis Manor but rather strolling on an ordinary street. Brimming with confidence, she resembled the fairies depicted in storybooks. As she walked, her clothes fluttered, and her ethereal aura overflowed. Internally, Liu Shulan refused to admit it. Long Shuli looked so beautiful, like an otherworldly fairy. Upon reaching the living room, Long Shuli took the initiative to request the old Marquis to annul the engagement. The old Marquis erupted in anger, questioning if Su Dingheng was the troublemaker. Chapter 404. He was more relying on her. He saw Liu Shulan cowering next to Su Dingheng. Liu Shulan had originally prepared sufficient etiquette to display in front of the old Marquis and the people of the Marquis Manor, but when the old Marquis' sharp gaze met hers, she could not do anything. Her legs went soft, and she did not dare to say a word. "I'm telling you, as long as I'm alive, a person like you won't be able to enter Marquis Manor. The daughter-in-law of my Marquis Manor, the future mistress of the house, there is only one Shuli. The others are not worthy." He pointed at Su Dingheng and scolded, "If you continue to make a fuss about marrying someone else, then get out of the Marquis Manor. I acknowledge Shuli as my daughter, and one entrust the Marquis Manor to her. This way, you won't tarnish the reputation of my Marquis Manor, you unfilial son." "Father, calm down. I don't dare. I'll marry her." "Can't I marry her?" Su Dingheng's legs went limp, and he knelt. Liu Shulan's heart was like ashes. She never thought she and Su Dingheng would lose so badly in this struggle. As for Long Shuli, she won almost effortlessly. However, Long Shuli didn't look happy at all. She had always been so indifferent. Winning or losing didn't matter to her, and the title of young madam wasn't anything good to her. Long Shuli felt bored and sighed. "Father, I'm going back." "Go ahead. Take care of the patient. Don't tire yourself out." The old Marquis consoled her attentively. At that moment, Liu Shulan felt that Long Shuli was like a star in the sky. She was an existence that wasn't even comparable to her and Su Dingheng combined. She didn't even dare to be jealous of her anymore. Because she felt she wasn't worthy. In Long Shuli's eyes, they were all nothingness. After that, Long Shuli and Su Dingheng got married. It wasn't a grand occasion, but outsiders said Su Dingheng didn't like Long Shuli, so he treated her badly. However, when Su Dingheng came to scold Liu Shulan, she knew that Long Shuli didn't like trouble. Su Dingheng was drunk, and he fell beside her, muttering, "That woman has no regard for anything and doesn't put me in her eyes at all." Originally, even the emperor wanted to attend the ceremony personally, but she said it was too troublesome for the emperor to come and delay her meal. She told the emperor not to come and quickly finish the ceremony. She needs to rest quickly and can't be bothered to deal with these boring people and things. Look at her attitude. Infurious. She agreed with Su Dingheng. That woman doesn't have a heart. It's fine as long as you're in my heart. When Su Dingheng heard this, he fell asleep comfortably in her arms. However, she couldn't fall asleep. She could tell that Long Shuli was not heartless. She had the world in her heart and couldn't tolerate these red tapes to entangle her. After that, she would often hear news about Long Shuli from Su Dingheng. When Long Shuli was giving birth, Su Dingheng said, "Is this woman still human?" She said not to let the midwife disturb her, but in the end, she gave birth to the child by herself in an hour. She even cut the umbilical cord herself, stating that if someone else did it, it wouldn't be clean. When Long Shuli's clinic opened all over Jiangdu City, Su Dingheng said, "This woman doesn't have a home in her heart. I haven't seen her many times in months. Even my son doesn't get close to me." When Long Shuli was famous, Su Dingheng was still scolding her. He would always pick out Long Shuli's faults. The most common thing he said was that this woman had no heart. She had never taken him seriously. She wanted to laugh when she heard that. Every time, she would comfort Su Dingheng and make him more dependent on her. Chapter 405, Shattering Hope. Afterward, Su Dingheng refrained from scolding Long Shuli because he grasped a certain truth. No matter how he stirred things up, Long Shuli would not pay him any attention. If he went too far, Long Shuli would simply press a needle to his neck, giving him the ultimatum of life or death. This serene life persisted until Long Shuli became pregnant once again. A man entirely clad in black sought her out, inquiring if she harbored jealousy towards Long Shuli and if she wanted Long Shuli's life. Her immediate reaction was reluctance because Long Shuli had never targeted her. Even though Long Shuli was aware of her existence and the prolonged affair with Su Dingheng, she couldn't be bothered with her. Long Shuli was beyond her influence. However, the conditions presented by this man were exceedingly enticing. He asserted, "Once Long Shuli is gone, you will have an opportunity. Su Dingheng will inherit the title, and in the future, you'll become the madam of the Marquis Manor. Don't you desire such prestige?" Liu Shulan was immediately enchanted. "I want it. Of course, I want it." She cooperated with Wu Dao and carried out everything he instructed. She doubted her capability to accomplish much, merely adhering to her prescribed medication schedule and bearing the child. During her pregnancy, she intensified Su Dingheng's infatuation, ensnaring him and preventing him from realizing the affairs of the Marquis Manor. On the eve of her delivery, she encountered that man once more. That man told her that as long as she completed the last step, Long Shuli would not be far from death. Trembling, she arranged to meet Long Shuli. The pretext was to have Long Shuli decide for her unborn child. They were all pregnant, and as mothers, Long Shuli came without any warning. She didn't meet Long Shuli in person but observed her from the side. She didn't know what the man in black said to Long Shuli, but when Long Shuli came out, she seemed to have changed into a different person. Her face was pale, and she held her stomach. She looked like she was about to lose her balance. Subsequently, she heard about Long Shuli's difficult childbirth. When Long Shuli was having a difficult labor, Su Dingheng was still sitting in front of her. He was drinking tea calmly. As he drank tea, he said disdainfully, "I senti that woman supposedly immensely talented. What's the big deal about a challenging delivery? Who knows, the child might not be mine." Humph. At that moment, Liu Shulan harbored a foreboding feeling, until later, Long Shuli succumbed to complications during childbirth, leaving behind a baby girl. Having concluded the recollection of past events, Liu Shulan remained drenched in cold sweat. "Is this the whole story?" Su Yingxue bellowed, gripping her chin. "If you dare conceal anything, I'll poison Su Yurou again." "No, please. Don't harm my Rua." Liu Shulan shook her head frantically. "I've told you everything. Your mother's medical skills were so exceptional. She shouldn't have died. I suspect it was Wu Dao who harmed her. Who is Wu Dao? Su Yingxue's eyes darkened, akin to a lurking beast. Liu Shulan broke down in tears. One don't know, truly. Wu Dao is formidable. He can do anything. His medical expertise is on par with your mother's, and he even knows her. Yet, no one has seen his true face, and no one knows who he is that so? Su Yingxue's mouth curled into a cold arc. Liu Shulan nodded tearfully. Yes. That's all I know. Spare me, spare my Rua. Su Yingxue released her chin and, after using a handkerchief, casually discarded it. As she left with a cold expression, Liu Shulan continued pleading, Su Yingxue, spare me and Rua. They still needed to survive. Her son and daughter still had hope. However, Su Yingxue relished shattering those hopes the most. Chapter 406. Liu Shulan is dead. She turned around and informed Liu Shulan, Saint Juan has dosed you with half of the medicine. You won't die. As for Yingxue Court, I will seal it off. Without water and food, you might endure 3 days without succumbing, but during these 3 days, your injuries will torment your internal organs. Each day, you'll experience excruciating pain. I'll have Su Yurou stationed outside the door every day. You'll hear her voice, but before your demise, you won't see her again. Su Yingxue's cold silhouette left Liu Shulan spitting out a mouthful of blood. Her eyes widened. Su Yingxue, you wretched woman. Her methods were merciless. Torturing her body and her heart, she listened to Su Yurou's voice. How could she bear to die like this? However, no one could save her. Su Yingxue, one curse you to die a horrible death. Liu Shulan screamed with her last ounce of strength. Su Yingxue paid no heed. As she emerged, Su Yurou lunged at her like a madwoman. Su Yingxue, how dare you harm my mother? I'll fight you all. Su Yingxue ruthlessly kicked her. Su Yurou was thrown to the ground, completely powerless to resist. She wiped her tears and said that she was going to complain to Su Dingheng, but Su Yingxue sneered. You better watch your mother die first before complaining to father. Su Yingxue instructed Yihan, until Liu Shulan dies, don't let her leave Yingxue Court. Yihan nodded. Yes, miss. After settling the affairs in the Marquis Manor, she finally reclined on the bed, filtering through the recent events. Her father was originally a despicable character. It was a coincidence that he tainted her mother, so her mother married him. She could feel that even though she was raped and accidentally got pregnant, her mother had never lowered her head to fate. Her death was caused by Wu Dao. However, what had Wu Dao done to force her mother into difficult labor? Wu Dao. Su Yingxue gritted her teeth. If he was responsible for her mother's demise, she would make sure he paid with his life. Su Yingxue continued her routine in the Marquis Manor for 3 days. On this day, while she was still in the accountant's room, Yihan came to report, Miss, Liu Shulan has passed away. The pen in Su Yingxue's hand paused, and a faint smile played on her lips. And Su Yurou? She's in the courtyard, clamoring for Miss to pay with your life. She even mentioned seeing Marquis and seeking justice from him. Yihan seemed somewhat concerned. If Marquis finds out about this, let him find out. Ignore whatever Su Yurou is up to. If she wants to complain to father, let her be. Su Yingxue maintained an indifferent expression. In her previous life, having lost all her loved ones, she lived a more wretched existence than Su Yurou. How could she not let Su Yurou taste a bit of that bitterness? Su Yurou cried her way to Su Dingheng. Witnessing her mother's tragic end and the abuse she suffered from Su Yingxue, she wailed heartrendingly. She had believed her father would sympathize with her mother and surely avenge her. However, Su Dingheng, upon hearing these words, remained unmoved. His expression was even cold. Your mother intentionally harmed me and even tried to frame Yingxue. She deserved to die. You have nothing to cry about with me, Daddy. Su Yurou widened her eyes in horror. Mother loved you the most. How could she harm you? It's all Su Yingxue. It's all her tricks. Don't talk nonsense. If not for your sister, would I still be alive? Your mother wanted to kill me to secure power in the Marquis Manor. You. You're not a good person either. Get lost. Su Dingheng chased Su Yurou away. Chapter 407. Su Yurou breaks down. Su Yurou was alone and helpless. She cried for a long time in Su Dingheng's courtyard, but Su Dingheng did not bother with her anymore. Later, a messenger from the 7th prince's residence came to fetch her. In Su Yurou's bleak world, it seemed like a ray of light had been ignited. She promptly boarded the carriage. In front of Chu Changye, she couldn't control herself and rushed to hug him. Your Highness, please help Rua seek justice. Rua's mother was killed by Su Yingxue. Sob, sob, sob. Chu Changye didn't push her away, but the warmth he once felt for her had diminished. Normally, just a touch of her soft body would make him blush, but now, as she clung to him like this, he found it uninspiring. After Su Yurou finished crying, he patiently listened to her account of the recent events in the Marquis Manor. Su Yurou, with a glint of hatred in her eyes, vividly described Su Yingxue's actions with embellishments. Seeing Chu Chengye's furrowed brow, a glimmer of hope ignited in Su Yurou's heart. Leaning against his chest, she coquettishly pleaded, Your Highness, Rua's mother was killed. Now, Rua only has you. You must avenge Rua. Su Yingxue, if Su Yingxue truly poisoned your father, why would she save him? Your story is riddled with inconsistencies and contradicts the information I've gathered. Chu Chengye's brows furrowed, and he was eager to know more about Su Yingxue. However, Su Yurou's narrative was not aligned with what he wanted to hear. Your Highness, Su Yurou's unfocused gaze held disbelief. Did you not summon me because you missed Rua? Why do you care so much about Su Yingxue? A trace of discomfort flashed across Chu Chengye's handsome face. He was reluctant to admit that he sought news about Su Yingxue. Impatiently, he released Su Yurou. You can go back now. Your Highness, Su Yurou clung to Chu Changye as if he were a lifesaver. Your Highness, Su Yingxue is so cruel. She will surely kill me. Your Highness, please protect Rua. Su Yurou's soft form pressed against him. In the past, Chu Changye had easily succumbed to her charms, but now, facing a woman who actively sought him out, he felt no interest. He was even somewhat repulsed. He forcefully removed Su Yurou's embrace and pushed her aside. Enough, go back. As a woman, you should maintain some modesty. Your Highness. If Rua lacks modesty, it's because Rua is deeply moved by Your Highness. That's the reason for my behavior. Su Yurou closed her eyes, made a decision, and untied her belt, revealing her smooth shoulders. She pressed her tender skin against Chu Changye and ran her soft hands across his chest. Your Highness, please don't send me away like this. Rua is willing to serve Your Highness. Enough. If you still want to be an innocent woman, immediately return to the Marquis Manor, and don't come here again. Chu Chengye's eyes showed annoyance. Seeing Su Yurou's exposed body only further diminished his interest. Almost as if venting his frustration, he casually remarked, even Su Yingxue wouldn't behave like you. Su Yurou's tense heart suddenly snapped. Despairingly, she covered herself. Your Highness, is Su Yingxue the only one in your heart now? Did you call me here today just to hear about Su Yingxue? Chu Changye, feeling exposed, waved his hand in frustration. Get lost. Don't appear in front of me. Your Highness, where exactly do I fall short compared to Su Yingxue? You clearly said in the past that I am the one you like the most. Chapter 408. The Pathless that shocked the four countries. Su Yurou tried to embrace him again, but Chu Changye waved his hand, signaling someone to escort her out. After Su Yurou returned to Marquis Manor, she acted like a madwoman, throwing and smashing things. Su Yingxue instructed the people in the Marquis Manor to ignore her, pushing her further into a state of breakdown. On a rainy night, a figure clad in black emerged before her. With a hoarse voice carrying an ancient solemnity, the man inquired, Do you wish to avenge your mother? A lightning bolt struck, causing Su Yurou to retreat to the bed's edge in fear. Who are you? Don't come near. Don't you want to avenge your mother? Otherwise, you and your brother will end up dead at the hands of Yingxue." Wu Dao smiled, his eerie voice sending shivers down the spine. However, Yurou had already been humiliated to the extreme. How could she care about the consequences? She stood up and rushed in front of Wu Dao. "One want to avenge my mother, my brother. Well, kill Yingxue together and let her accompany my mother in death." Wu Dao observed the hatred in her eyes and nodded in satisfaction. Good. Saint Juan had only stayed at home for a few days before he was forced into the Marquis Manor by Yingxue. In her courtyard, Yingxue had prepared a medicine hut, seemingly for crafting poisons. It was stocked with various herbs, some of which could be used for detoxification. As Saint Juan roamed around, he chuckled carelessly. "Oh, are you afraid of me now? You're quite well prepared." Yingxue, manipulating a medicine jar, spoke nonchalantly. "I've prepared a portion for you, but there's someone else I need to consult you about." "You're being so polite. I'm in a good mood today. Ask away." Saint Juan was pleased and sat down on a chair. He crossed his legs and looked just like a carefree young man. Yingxue finished her preparations and sat across from him. She asked slowly, "Do you know someone named Wu Dao?" Holding a cup of tea, Saint Juan took a sip and then spewed out the tea and leaves in surprise. You. How did you provoke that old guy? Is he very old?" Yingxue raised an eyebrow, indicating she had chosen wisely in seeking Saint Juan. Only someone like him, an ancient relic, would possess knowledge about everything. Saint Juan's hand holding the cup still trembled, revealing his fear of Wu Dao. "Yingxue, tell me the truth. How did you provoke him? Let's see if there's any chance of salvation. I want to take revenge on him." Yingxue crossed her arms, appearing composed. Saint Juan's heart skipped a beat. "Revenge?" Suddenly, he thought of something. "What revenge do you seek? Is it related to your mother?" As he spoke, his expression shifted from shock to seriousness. "Back then, your mother faced difficulties giving birth to you. Logically, nothing should have harmed her. Could it be that Wu Dao, aware of her mother's good relationship with Saint Juan, Yingxue didn't intend to conceal anything? Liu Shulan said that before my mother gave birth, she tricked her into meeting Wu Dao. This time, my father's poisoning is connected to Wu Dao." Saint Juan narrowed his eyes, subconsciously biting his well-maintained red lips. No one knows what Wu Dao wants to do. However, when he's in a bad mood, he stirs up the entire 4 kingdoms and 9 provinces. Is he that powerful? Yingxue clenched her fists unconsciously. Back then, the Silver Moon Pavilion crossed the boundaries of the 4 kingdoms and 9 states, almost bringing about their destruction. However, the matter was later settled. It can only be said that Wu Dao was in a good mood. Saint Juan sighed, placing his hands behind his head. "You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.